You're about to discover the secret engine that keeps America fed, fueled, and moving. It's not Wall Street, not Silicon Valley, not Hollywood. It's the dirt under our feet. America grows many different crops in America that are very important. These crops help feed people, support industries, and provide jobs. In 2019, farms added $136 billion to the U.S. economy. The larger farming industry added over $1.1 trillion that year. In 2020, crops earned nearly $198 billion in sales. This shows how important crops in America are for jobs and the economy. Learning about these crops helps you understand what makes U.S. farming successful. Most people have no idea which crops are the true giants, and today, you're going to see exactly how those crops work, what makes them powerful, and why your everyday life depends on them more than you think. So buckle up, because once you see the numbers, you'll never look at your grocery cart the same way again. But before we dive in, imagine this. What if just one of America's major crops suddenly disappeared? What if millions of acres vanished overnight? What if factories, farms, and jobs simply stopped? But it's closer to reality than you think. Let's break down America's most important crops, one by one, and uncover the hidden story behind each. Number 1. Corn, the king of American crops. Corn isn't just popular, it's everywhere. Acreage and production corn is the most grown crop in the U.S. Millions of acres are used to grow it. In 2023, farmers harvested 86.5 million acres of corn. They produced 15.4 billion bushels that year. The average yield was 177.3 bushels per acre. In 2024, farmers expect to harvest 82.9 million acres. Production is estimated at 14.9 billion bushels. The yield may improve to 179.3 bushels per acre. Corn remains highly important because despite a slight drop in total production from 15.4 to 14.9 billion bushels and fewer harvested acres, from 86.5 to 82.9 million, the average yield actually increased from 177.3 to 179.3 bushels per acre in 2024, showing that productivity per acre continues to rise and keeps corn a critical U.S. crop. Economic value. Corn farming helps the U.S. economy in big ways. In 2023, farmers grew 15.3 billion bushels of corn, worth $73.9 billion. The industry created $151 billion in economic activity. It added $62 billion to the GDP and made over 600,000 jobs. Workers earned $35 billion in wages. Corn farming added $20.7 billion directly to GDP. It paid $12 billion in wages and benefits. Its impact reached 524 industries across all 50 states. Corn is used for more than farming. It helps make biofuels, feed animals, and produce food. This makes it one of the most important crops in the U.S. Key facts: corn is crucial for farming and trade worldwide. It is grown in over 170 places globally. In 2020, the U.S., China, Brazil, and Argentina grew 64.63% of the world's corn. The U.S. is a top exporter, helping global trade. From 2020 to 2021, the U.S., Brazil, Argentina, and Ukraine made up 88.12% of corn exports. The U.S. and China use the most corn. In 2020, China used 279 million tons of corn. Corn is needed for feeding animals, making ethanol, and food products. Corn's many uses make it vital for the U.S. economy and global food supply. If you're learning something new already, hit the like and subscribe button so more people discover how important these crops really are. All right, let's continue. Number 2. Soybeans, The quiet giant corn might be king, but soybeans are the mastermind working behind the scenes. Acreage and production. Millions of acres grow soybeans each year, about 85.7 million acres on average. But by 2025, that may fall to 83.5 million acres. U.S. farmland is shrinking by 9 million acres in the last decade, so soybeans are fighting for space and still rising in importance. Corn and soybeans together used to take 62% of grain and oilseed acreage in 1965. By 2022, they dominated 87%. Soybeans aren't small, they're essential. Economic muscle. Soybeans make money, big money. In 2024 to 25, weekly export sales hit 307,900 metric tons. Total export sales, 1.775 billion bushels. That's 13% higher than last year. Even with Brazil and Argentina as heavy competitors, U.S. soybeans stay in high demand. Soybeans turn into animal feed, oil biodiesel, food products. If corn is the king, soybean is the strategist. Key facts. They now dominate harvested acres with corn. The U.S. is a top exporter. Soybeans are used in energy, feed, and food. Soybeans run more industries than most people realize. Number 3. Hay, the unsung hero. It's not flashy. You don't see it in the grocery store. But without hay, America's livestock industry collapses. Acreage and production hay is the third most grown crop in the U.S. In the 1900s, hay acreage climbed steadily. In the 2000s, it dropped. Farmers shifted to more profitable crops like corn and soybeans. Hay acreage changes based on market prices, yield potential. Those two factors explain 63% of hay acreage changes every year. Economic value. Hay feeds cattle, horses, dairy cows. Other livestock high-quality hay is extremely valuable, especially in states with big dairy and beef industries. Hay doesn't just feed animals, it feeds entire food supply chains. Key facts. It supports livestock-heavy states like Texas and California, includes alfalfa, clover, and more. Weather impacts production heavily. Hay is the quiet backbone of American livestock. If you're enjoying this breakdown, subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden engines that keep the world running. Let's keep going. Number 4. Wheat, the global staple. Wheat has fed civilizations for thousands of years, and in the U.S., it's still a top 3 crop. Acreage and production in 2025/26, farmers plan to plant 46 million acres of wheat. This matches the previous year. But long-term, wheat acreage has dropped sharply. In 1981, 88.3 million acres. In 2019, 45.5 million acres, half the land. But thanks to tech and better seeds, still massive output. Wheat types: winter wheat, 70% spring wheat, 25% durum wheat, less than 5% economic value. Durum earns the most money. Soft red winter earns the least. Prices for 2024/25 and 2025/26 are around $5.50 per bushel, about 8% below the 15-year average. Farming costs, especially in places like North Dakota, have climbed 26 to 29% since 2021. But storing wheat is profitable, up to 200% returns over a decade. Key facts. Kansas leads winter wheat production. U.S. wheat has 1,353 varieties across 16 states, still a backbone of food security and trade. Wheat may be shrinking in acres, but not in importance. Number 5. Cotton, the fabric of the nation. You might not eat it, but you wear it every day. Acreage and production farmers recently planted 11.18 million acres of cotton, harvested 8.27 million acres, and genetically modified cotton covers 5.31 million hectares to increase yields. By 2025, farmers expect to plant 9.6 million acres. States like Texas, Georgia, Mississippi lead the country. Economic value. Cotton's total impact, over $120 billion a year. Cotton and cottonseed farming alone bring in about $5 billion. Exports add over $2 billion. The U.S. produces 37% of the world's cotton exports. Key facts grown in 17 southern states. U.S. ranks third after India and China. GM cotton boosts yields and cuts pests. Cotton doesn't feed stomachs, but it does clothe the world. If you're still watching, comment crops, so I know you're part of the curious crew. All right, next up, number 6. Rice, the precision crop. Rice isn't grown everywhere. It needs exact conditions. Acreage and production. The U.S. grows rice on about 2.8 million acres. This produces 20 billion pounds every year. Arkansas alone grows 40% of all U.S. rice. Farmers rely heavily on irrigation systems to grow rice successfully. Economic value. In 2024, the rice market was worth $4.6 billion. By 2031, it may reach $7.3 billion. In 2022, 11.6 million metric tons produced $2.1 billion earned from exports. Organic rice grew by 12.5%. Key facts. Fourth most grown cereal after corn, wheat, sorghum. Industry adds $34+ billion. Yearly provides 125,000 jobs. Rice is small in acreage, but huge in impact. Number 7. Potatoes, America's comfort food. Crop fries, chips, tater tots. Potatoes are everywhere. Acreage and production. The U.S. plants about 900,000 acres of potatoes. This produces 400 to 425 million CWT yearly. Nebraska hit a record in 2023, 11.0 million. CWT 21,900 acres, $139 million in value. Farmers use advanced equipment to boost yields and quality. Economic value. The potato industry added $100.9 billion in 2021. That includes $10.8 billion, farming $49.1 billion, processing and selling $41 billion. Food services and home use potatoes create 714,000 jobs. Potato farming alone is worth $3.9 to $4.2 billion yearly. Key facts. 400 to 425 million thou. CWT grown yearly. Nebraska broke records. 700,000 plus jobs come from potatoes. Potatoes don't play around. They're economic heavyweights. If this is blowing your mind, hit the share button and let someone else learn something cool today. Number 8. Sugar beets, the sweet powerhouse. Sugar beets look humble, but they power a massive industry. Acreage and production. In 2023, farmers produced 35.2 million tons of sugar beets, more than 32.6 million tons in 2022. But acreage is shrinking, from 1.159 million acres down to 1.128 million acres. Montana alone loses 9,600 acres due to a plant closing. Bad weather hits North Dakota and Michigan hardest. Economic value. The U.S. sugar industry makes $23.3 billion yearly. It supports 150,000 plus jobs. Sugar from beets goes into candy drinks, packaged foods, exports. Sugar beets are small but mighty. Key facts. 35.2 million tons produced in 2023. Acreage dropping 2.63%, 150,000 plus jobs in sugar industry. Sugar beets keep America sweet, literally. Number 9. Barley, the brewer's best friend. If you like beer, you like barley. Acreage and production. Farmers plant about 2.5 million acres of barley yearly. It grows best in colder states like North Dakota, Montana, and Idaho. It's used for animal feed, malt, food, economic value. In 2023, barley prices dropped $100 per ton due to competition from oats, feed wheat, and imported corn. But demand from breweries keeps barley alive. Key facts grows best in cooler climates. Stable demand in brewing. Good feed crop for livestock. Barley is a steady, reliable crop with a loyal customer base, breweries. Number 10. Peanuts. Acreage and production. Peanuts are an important crop in U.S. farming. In 2022, farmers planted 1.45 million acres of peanuts. This produced 5.57 billion pounds of peanuts that year. By 2023, peanut planting grew by 15%, showing higher demand. Georgia is the top peanut producer, growing nearly 2.9 billion pounds in 2022. However, the average yield dropped to 3,668 pounds per acre, the lowest since 2016. Peanuts grow best in areas with good soil and weather. Virginia and the Carolinas plant 175,000 to 230,000 acres yearly. These states produce about 457,000 tons of peanuts. Texas also grows many peanuts, with 47,232 acres planted. These regions show how peanuts help local farming economies. Economic value. Peanuts add a lot to the U.S. economy. Their value depends on how much is grown and sold. Buyers' choices and pricing affect how much farmers earn. Studies explain how these factors shape the peanut market. Peanuts are used in many products like peanut butter, oils, and snacks. This makes them very popular and supports food factories and exports. The peanut industry creates jobs and helps trade, making it vital to the economy. Key facts. U.S. peanut production in 2022. 5.57 billion pounds. Peanut acreage in 2022. 1.45 million acres. Georgia's peanut production in 2022. 2.9 billion pounds. Average peanut yield, 3,668 pounds per acre, lowest since 2016. Virginia and Carolinas. Peanut production, 457,000 tons. Yearly peanuts support food factories, exports, and local economies. Peanuts are more than just a crop. They help farmers, industries, and the economy. Their production shows how they feed the nation and boost economic growth. If you've made it this far, you're officially smarter than 99% of people about U.S. agriculture. Hit subscribe for more deep dive videos like this one. America's crops aren't just plants, they're the backbone of the economy. They feed people, animals, industries, and entire global markets. Every acre tells a story. And now you know the story behind the biggest crops in the nation. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that matter.